Before we get to the news of the day, I thought it might be fun to take a little trip to academia and find out what our friends, the left-wing college professors, are up to. After all, as the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but these people are idiots. Actually, that saying may not be all that old. Here's a story about college professors that, so help me, is completely true. Assistant Professor Rebecca Tuvell of Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee, recently wrote an academic paper that was published in the feminist journal Hypatia. The paper was entitled In Defense of Transracialism. Transracialism, of course, is when you pretend to be a different race in order to pretend to be a victim of pretend depression. Assistant Professor Tuvell wrote that it isn't fair that society is increasingly tolerant of transgenderism, but remains suspicious of transracialism. After all, if we can pretend to believe people who pretend to be a different gender, why can't we pretend to believe people who pretend to be a different race? Ms. Tuvell wrote, quote, and this is a real quote, "We need an account of race that does not collapse into a position according to which all forms of self-identification are socially recognized, such as one's self-identification as a wolf." Ms. Tuvell's article set off a firestorm of criticism, with hundreds of other academics signing a petition asserting that it was dangerous and an act of epistemic violence to suggest that, quote, white cis scholars may even engage in speculative discussion of these themes. The journal Hypatia apologized for publishing the piece, but Susanna Walters, a professor of women's gender and sexuality studies at Northeastern University, apparently that's a thing, defended Ms. Tuvell, noting that Tuvell is a leftist feminist and therefore should be forgiven. Professor Walters wrote, quote, academics should ask whether we are truly committed to a culture that is generous of spirit and open to debate. Let's focus our hostility on the real enemies of feminist, queer, and marginalized lives, unquote. So it's good to know Professor Walters wants academics to have a generous culture open to debate, as long as it's not generous or open to debate. Anyway, the journal Hypatia ultimately apologized for their original apology in a letter from the editor which read, quote, as a white man who identifies as a black woman, who identifies as a gray wolf, who identifies as a white man in a gray wolf costume, I'm very sorry that I was sorry for being sorry about the thing I was sorry about before, and I'm now only sorry about the thing I'm currently sorry about, which is being sorry, unquote. The editor then donned a furry costume and howled at the moon. I hope you've enjoyed this little visit to the world of academics. And if you happen to be a parent saving up for your child's education, you might want to consider spending your money on something more valuable, like string or one of those paintings of dogs playing poker. After all, as the old saying goes, to err is human, but these people are idiots. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.